What's up, fight fans? Thank you once again for coming through. You know the routine. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you to all the recent subscribers. The channel is growing steadily. We are getting there, so thanks for everyone that has hit that subscribe button. All right, let's talk Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, right? He's got a fight coming up this weekend, and it's fair to say, I don't think many people are interested in it. I don't think so at all. And look, I gave the fight stick as well. I'm not going to go back on my words. When the fight was announced, I was like, come on, Gennady, come on. You know, you can do better than this. There are other options out there. Charlo was asking for it. Andrade was asking for it. I think even initially, Danny Jacobs, even Spike O'Sullivan were asking for it. So I felt like Vans was, of those opponents, maybe better than Spike, but I think it's fair to say the other opponents that I just mentioned, Vans was way below them in the pecking order. But anyway, Vans got the fight, and we still get to see GGG fight this weekend. And I, for one, will always tune in, because we haven't got long left with GGG. I mean, he's 36 now. I don't think he's going to do like a Bernard Hopkins and fight into his 40s and 50s, or even a Floyd and fight into his 40s. I think we probably have 2 years max with GGG left. So that's what? 4 fights? 5 fights? So I'm going to thoroughly enjoy him while he's still here, because he's definitely given me excitement over his career. And this is what I want to touch on. I think that he gets so much unfair criticism and stick. It's unbelievable. And not just because of this Van. We can park Vans for a second. I'm just talking in general. Before the Vans announcement, I've heard stuff like GGG is a ducker. You look at his career, who is he for? Some of these statements I've heard, and it's kind of like, for me, I find it mind-boggling. I really do. I love social media, and I think social media has given everyone a voice, right? So everyone now can talk as soon as a fight's made or whatever. You go on Twitter, everyone has immediate access to the world and can say what they want. But I do believe that some of us maybe type too quick. Maybe some of us don't think before we type. I'm guilty of it. I do it all the time. I've even done a couple of videos regretting a video. You know, I've done a video destroying Anthony Joshua. Then I maybe thought about it for a few seconds and done another video apologizing. And I feel like GGG just gets unfair hate. It's ridiculous. Like even the ducking one, for example, like he's a ducker. His last 2 fights were Canelo and Danny Jacobs. And by all accounts, behind GGG, they were the number 1 and 2 in the division, right? So how can you duck? How can you be classed as a ducker if you've just fought number 1 and number 2? And for me, you beat them both. Danny Jacobs was close. A lot of people have it either a draw or GGG. I had it GGG by a round. Again, Canelo was close. I had GGG by a couple of rounds. So you just beaten number 1 and number 2, and now all of a sudden, for some reason, people are still labeling you as a ducker? That's not a duck. I mean, if your last 2 fights were number 12 and 13, you're ducking. But number 1 and number 2, duck? Really? And then people do the thing where they look at his resume. And I just can't agree with it. I'll be honest with you, I can't agree with it. Some people say, okay, who's on the resume? And I agree with that. But I will counter that by saying, who was there to fight? Who was there to fight? Someone bring up a name, please, and I'll say, okay, I'm wrong. But who was there to fight at 160 at the time that made any sense, that would make this resume look a lot better? I think we forget how bad the middleweight division was just before GGG came, in and around that time. And I don't mean bad, but there were no superstar names. Remember, the belts were like, I think Danny Gill had a belt for a while before Barker beat him for that belt, remember? I think, what was that, the IBF? Sturm had a belt, and Sergio Martinez had a belt, right? Sergio Martinez fought Paul Williams, and then obviously because of the crash with Paul Williams, so that left Paul Williams out of the picture. So the big guys in the division at the time, this is just before GGG rose up, was Sturm, Barker, Gill, and Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez was coming to the end of his reign, obviously, hence why he got the fight against Chavez Jr. to earn some money. And then obviously he took the fight against Cotto when he really shouldn't have been fighting anymore. The legs were completely gone, but he took that fight just to earn money. So he was gone. So Cotto took that belt, and with that, Cotto took, I think, the lineal championship as well. Sturm was always in Germany. He fought the likes of Martin Murray, Matthew Macklin, so they got opportunities because there was no one around. And Barker then fought Sturm and lost to Sturm in Germany as well, so he lost his title. So there wasn't exactly these superstar names around. Then GGG came and started picking off those people, and then GGG fought the likes of Macklin and Murray and Gill. So he only fought the people that Sturm and Martinez had been fighting for years anyway. So there wasn't no superstar names around to fight. The middleweight division just hasn't had that since the likes of Hopkins and Jermaine Taylor and what's the other guy's name now? Kelly Pavlik left the division. There hasn't been no superstar names. The only thing I would accuse GGG of doing was not going to 168. I think there was an opportunity at the time to maybe fight Andre Ward or Carl Froch at 168. And I think it's fair to say he didn't do that. Maybe it was because of him, I don't know. Maybe because of Froch or Ward, I don't know. But he didn't do it, and that's the only criticism I have of him. Other than that, I mean, all this a case of let's look at the resume. If there's no fighters to fight, what can you do? I mean, seriously, if there's no fighters to fight, what can you do? Let's also not forget as well, between 2013 and 2016, I'd say that was peak GGG. Who was calling GGG out? And don't say the guys at 154, because I think a lot of people will say Lara maybe. But aside from that, who at 160 wanted it? Who at 160 wanted it? I mean, you got Miguel Cotto, who beat Martinez and beat Danny Gill at middleweight. And literally, I remember when Max Kellerman, I'm going to try and find the clip, asked him, will you fight Gennady Golovkin next? He was like, not really. No one wanted it. Canelo wasn't ready. They was pushing for the Canelo fight. And to be fair to Canelo, he was coming up from 154, but they were pushing the Canelo fight. And Canelo was like, not ready. Don't want that fight yet. So he took the Kell Brook fight. And this is, I think, where he gets a lot of stick for. And again, I think it's unfair stick. He took the Kell Brook fight and he made, I think, according to the Telegraph, £4 to £5 million. Way more than he would have made against Dominic Wade, Lemieux, Monroe Jr., Martin Murray, Rubin, way more than all of that. In fact, you probably could combine all that. Maybe removing David Lemieux, but you could probably combine his last 6 or 7 opponents together, and I don't think it would have made £5 million. So, what do? Do you turn that down? I mean, do you say, no, he's too small, I don't want that? You take the fight. You take the fight. You've got to start taking these fights, because end of the day, when he took the Kell Brook fight, he was 34. I mean, there's not long left. You've got to start taking money. You've got to start earning money in your career, surely. And now, obviously, he's had the fight against Jacobs, Alvarez, and against Vans. And I think he's getting stick for the Vans one. But the Vans one ain't his fault. I think we always forget who fucked up here. So Alvarez fucked up. Remember, he was supposed to fight Canelo. He was willing and wanting that rematch. And I think that's almost been forgotten, that he's not the one that took a performance-enhancing drug. But obviously, he's getting stick because he chose Vans, which, look, I get it. I gave him some stick as well. But I think we need to calm down a little bit. We need to calm down a little bit. Is he cherry-picking now? Maybe. But let me tell you this, and I've spoken to hundreds of boxers. Once you get to that mid-30 range, you've got to start thinking of it as a business. In your 20s, you're all machismo, I'll fight anyone because you're tough. One day, you look in your bank account and you start doing what's right for you. Not necessarily for the fans all the time, for you. I think GGG has done right by us before. We have to admit that. He's been in some fantastic fights. But once you get to a stage where you're 36 years old, you've got a couple of years left, you start looking at what's right for you. And Vans might look at it as an easy fight for what's coming up in the fall, and that's obviously Canelo. So if I'm GGG, and I know potentially I've got a fight with Canelo in September that makes me 25, 30 million, and you're putting all those 4 names in front of me and said, okay, you're getting 5 million for each of those regardless, fuck me, I'm taking Vans. I'm taking Vans. I'm 36 years old. I'm not risking my ass against young, hungry kids like Charlo, Andrade, and Jacobs. Are you crazy? I'm taking Vans, and I'm getting my big paycheck in September against Canelo. That's what I'm doing. That's what all boxers would do. Forget this machismo thing of I'll fight anyone. It doesn't exist, people. Really, it doesn't. Not when you're 36, 37. That style doesn't work like that. Again, Hopkins was probably one of the only fighters that would do that. Most other fighters do not do that in their 30s. The risk-reward factor kicks in, and unfortunately, the risk against those 3 in particular isn't worth the reward. The reward comes September, and that's against Canelo. So you take an easy one if you can. And that easy one now is Vans. But again, you can't say he's a duck when his last 2 fights have been against the number 1 and number 2 in the division. Anyway, rant over. Let me know what you think. Peace.